Hey, I'm Dukes on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. Back for the fourth stream of the Green Sun Summit. This is a quarterly event I host with 7 other Legacy players and or Legacy content creators and explore the non-blue fields of the format. Just like my previous guests, my fourth guest doesn't need an introduction, but for those of you who don't know who they are, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, has been playing Legacy since 2011, getting into the format with Death and Taxes. Since then, he's had multiple successes with the deck both in paper and Legacy, top 8ing over 8 SCG Legacy events, and winning a challenge with other decks like Mono Red Stompy. He's gone from the D&T guy to that Mono Red guy to generally all-round Legacy aficionado. He's most likely the reason a large number of people have been trying out Legacy for the first time over the last few years, and I don't doubt will continue to do so throughout his content for years to come. He's co-host of the Everyday Eternal Glory podcast with Brian Cook and Brian Koval, and owner of the ThrabenUniversity.com, a website dedicated to Legacy, Death, and Taxes. The university was a huge inspiration for the greensunzenith.com, and I've always appreciated his take on fair magic. You can find him via YouTube at ThrabenU, where he uploads new content daily. But for now, he joins me in the booth and with some mono black. Phil, a big welcome to the stream.
This is a great way to spend a Saturday morning. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. I'm going to quickly update a few little things on the screen, but if you want to talk about how I know you played the deck, I believe, just the other day with Beseech, and
I did.
some of your thoughts about the deck going into it, and then how you thought of the deck after your league.
Okay, so the version that we have on screen here is the first place list from European Legacy Masters. I played Michael Levine's deck list, who is another mono black aficionado, which is only a few cards different in the flex slot. In short, Beseech the Mirror allows you to play fewer bad cards in your deck, and that is a huge boon. Generally speaking, Karn the Great Creator sucks. Like, sometimes it's a card you need to play in your deck list. I am a little bit too loud.
There we go, completely.
Do you want... Okay.
Thank you.
Generally speaking, Karn is a bad magic card. Unless you are playing against an artifact deck specifically, it doesn't have impact the turn that it comes down most of the time. And that loss of speed is awful. But when you need Karn, when you need that main deckable Null Rod, it's so important against like the Storm decks and the artifact decks like 8cast. Beseech the Mirror means that you can play, effectively, 5 copies of Karn, 5 copies of Helm of Obedience, 5 copies of Sheoldred, and any other singleton bullet that you have without diluting your deck with multiple copies of that card.
Yeah, it's I did see you at the very start talk about Helm, of course, but it seems like it just allows you to have a lot more flexibility with how you want to win a game, especially once you get to that 4 mana.
Yeah, so a lot of times with previous iterations of this deck list, you would look at your opening hand and you would make a decision about how you're probably going to win that game based on your opening hand. Beseech gives you so much easier access to different avenues of winning. So for example, let's say you're locked behind an Ensnaring Bridge and your opponent has a Karn. Well, combat's off the table, Helm of Obedience is off the table, but you still have this Sheoldred, or maybe an Orcish Bowmasters that you can use to bleed your opponent out under an Ensnaring Bridge. You know, let's say your opponent's on a combo deck, and you know if they get another card or two, it's game over for you. you can search up an Ill-Gotten Gains, and if you have Leyline of the Void or Dauthi Voidwalker, that can get rid of their whole hand. Beseech the Mirror's flexibility and the fact that it allows you to immediately cast that card is such a massive improvement over Karn.
Yeah. Ill-Gotten Gains was in like an old combo deck. Was there a deck that was kind of built around it?
Back in the day, there was a deck that we called Iggy Pop that would use a bunch of rituals and Lion's Eye Diamonds and Ill-Gotten Gains to kind of decrease the power of your opponent's hand while serving as a pseudo storm engine for your own purposes. And Ill-Gotten Gains is something that has floated in and out of legacy play without being the correct answer most of the time. But we've probably come full circle to the point where maybe it's not main deckable, maybe it's a sideboard card, but it's back in the power level conversation now because of Beseech the Mirror.
Very cool. One rules question I have that I think you would know. If my opponent has say if we have an opposition in play and our opponent plays a Beseech the Mirror, do we get to search their library and exile a card that we can then cast, or do we exile a card that is one of their worst cards that they can cast?
Okay, so the ruling that has been going around Twitter that looks to be correct is that opposition agent wins. So you will perform opposition agent just as you have always done. You will search for the card. You will exile that card. It will stop your opponent from being able to cast it with Beseech the Mirror. That is the paper ruling.
Nice.
Currently on Magic Online, as of a couple days ago, it did not work that way. And I believe, unless it was changed in the hotfix, that on Magic Online, your opponent can still cast the card that you search for. So in the short term while playing on Magic Online, you know, if you have opposition agent and your opponent casts Beseech, I believe you have to look for a crap card and just, you know, give up a little bit of value.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. How do you feel? Obviously, Voidwalker is a great card, and one that you can get down as early as turn one. Do you still think there's enough decks where this is kind of like the Collector Ouphin Maverick, where in game one it's very hard for some decks to beat? So, say like your Reanimator or something like that.
So in this specific build that is relatively creature light, Dauthi Voidwalker is incredibly good against something like Reanimator. In some of the other mono black builds that have a higher density of creature with more Sheoldreds or maybe initiative creatures or Rotting Regisaur or something like that, it's not as good as you would think because your opponent just makes you discard and then reanimates one of your creatures. And there's a surprising amount of tension there. But generally speaking, Dauthi Voidwalker as a 3/2 unblockable creature is already good enough. And then it kind of has two more abilities beyond that. And occasionally you go like Dark Ritual, Dauthi Voidwalker, Thoughtseize, and Emrakul, turn to Emrakul.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I could see that. I did really like that in the opening game of the opening match that you played on stream with Beseech. Your opponent went off on turn one with Beseech. I believe with Ill-Gotten? No, with the
the guy as well.
Yes, which is another card that seems really appealing in a Beseech the Mirror sort of storm deck. So it'll be interesting to see how those sort of builds build out from here as more people try them out potentially.
Yeah, I believe my podcast co-host Bryant Cook recorded with that and 4-1. And then I believe Brian also played it and 4-1, but played a build that he thought was very bad. Okay. So basically, the Eternal Glory podcast is batting like 80% with Beseech the Mirror decks right now. Card's good, folks.
Nice. Very cool. As you would say, I think we should get into it. And battle.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are there any like key matchups you a bit like, really didn't want to face this?
I don't know that I have enough reps with this specific build to internalize that. A lot of times when I play Ancient Tomb decks, I'm scared of Show and Tell decks. That this is a version that plays exactly one copy of Helm, and so my chances of winning off of my opponent's Show and Tell are much lower than normal. And as far as like very good main deck interaction goes, it's 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Hymns, and then occasionally you get lucky with an opposition agent or something.
Yes. Okay. This hand is pretty interesting. We have a Leyline, which we can put in. We have double black for both him and Voidwalker. And we also just have like the Saga kind of beatdown plan of Saga into Tomb.
So you keeping?
It isn't as explosive as I would like, but it does have a pretty nice start to it. I think yeah, it's tough. I don't have a reason to drop it, but mainly because I'm not too sure what to really look for in an opening.
Yeah, why don't you hit the keep button and I'll talk about this hand.
Nice, okay.
So this is a strange hand in that it has 2 completely disparate plays, and you have to decide after seeing exactly one of your opponent's cards, like one of their turns, plus your first draw step, whether this is an Urza Saga beatdown hand or whether this is a hand that you need to go and play the Dauthi Voidwalker Hymn to Tourach roll. And our opponent's duress makes that clear. Like, we now suspect that we are playing against a combo deck list. And, duress, Lotus Petal, we kind of know what's up. Hoo. So that's a fun one. Does this list have Lotus Petal? This list has Chrome Mox.
Correct.
So if we play Urza Saga on 1, on turn 3, we can kill, right? Urza Saga, Ancient Tomb, 4th land, imprint Dauthi Voidwalker. That's a kill. So I believe you play Urza Saga here and pass.
Yeah, nice. My only other thought was if we play Tomb into a Swamp next turn, Duck Ritual is a live draw. But I think just getting the Saga online makes sense because it also gives us another way to win in the constructs.
I think so. Like, if we play Ancient Tomb, like, Dark Ritual is like 4 outs to winning 1 turn earlier. But I think the consistency of Urza Saga is better here.
Nice. Very cool. One thing that at least I love about Saga is that I don't find it too powerful off Legacy, but I love how many decks play it and how many different decks are kind of brought out by the power of it, as kind of having it as a plan B.
It's absolutely one of my most played cards in Legacy now. Nice. It's great without being overpowered, and occasionally it has like very real downsides when your opponent just like randomly has a card that can remove an enchantment. Like the 1 colorless and a black, destroy an artifact or enchantment, you lose life equal to its mana cost. I just played that as sinkhole yesterday in a video that I recorded. All right.
Doomsday, interesting. I thought it might be Ant with like a Parodice spice to it, but Doomsday's not too bad.
Well, I mean, we probably die next turn.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I assume so.
Sadly, like our opponent has 3 cards in hand. We'll still have 9 life.
Yeah, sadly, one of the only combo decks that really doesn't care about their graveyard. When I saw the Underground Sea, I thought of like a blue-black sort of shadow or scam deck, but then the Duress, typically you'd probably think of like Thoughtseize with those sort of decks. Duress most likely gives you that combo edge.
Yeah, I do not assume that anyone who is casting Duress is up to any sort of good.
Yeah. I do really like how you went over as well with Beseech. A lot of your lands are both enchantments and artifacts. So you do have things like Vault of Whispers or Urza Saga to pitch to the Beseech when you cast it.
Yes, and the Orcish Bowmaster tokens help as well. Generally speaking, maybe always. I think I've pretty much always had something to sacrifice to a Beseech.
Yeah, I feel like this deck would nearly find it hard to have a draw where you get to 4 mana and don't, but potentially that there are draws there. The yeah, it just seems like really well built, especially around Beseech, without having too many like enablers of being able to search and put something into play, and also not having too many things that you want to put into play, and just like having a really high sort of top heavy curve.
So I would in fact call this deck unusually well built. Like generally speaking, on release weekend, a lot of times the decks that people are trying out with new stuff just kind of feel awkward, but this deck has felt extraordinarily smooth to me. Like it just works, and there was a very good established base for the various deck builders to use to kind of tweak to what we have now. Like there's still some questions, right? Like, do you want Sheoldred's Edict? Do you want Sudden Edict? You know, is a singleton Tourach really worth it in that sideboard slot? Does Ill-Gotten Gains belong in the main? You know, there's questions.
Yeah, Ill-Gotten really nice when you're running the full 4 Leyline and 4 Voidwalker as well. You're gonna have it online a lot of the time. It is a sorcery, right? Surely, yeah. It's
Yes.
not
Yes.
it's okay. It'd be pretty broken instant.
Doomsday opponents make me appreciate the fact that I'm a YouTuber and I can just cut the dead space out of my videos rather than have to entertain chat for 5 minutes while our opponents figure out the Doomsday pile.
I'll get that one day.
All
Okay,
right, there we
here we
go.
go.
Is our opponent on personal tutor version? Yes, they are.
Yes. So 4 Lotus Petals. There is 1 edge, but no Street
Oh,
Wraiths.
you don't even need to think about what they have. You have no decisions here, right? Like, don't spend the mental energy. Like, play Ancient Tomb Pass, and you're either dead or they're dead, right?
Very fair. Very fair. I do like the there's Street Wraith. The Beanstalk card, it looks pretty cool. But I feel like people are getting to a stage where Julian said it before, having to worry about like library like amount of cards left in library because the trigger is not a May. So a few people at the same tournament that this one were talking about playing endurance in the deck, just because there's a lot of times they're like, I'm gonna deck myself here if I keep drawing off this off these beanstalks.
What are you looking at for sideboarding?
Doomsday. There. Look, I don't mind the agents. Obviously, off a Doomsday.
Definitely
I don't
coming
mind
in.
the chalices, especially because it is just disruption. I wouldn't say it's a massive speed bump, but it's something they have to get through.
Okay.
I think cards like Shadowspear is an easy cut. The gains is probably a little bit too. That's a tough one. Like I'm not too sure how much we want to pull away from the whole like Voidwalker Leyline Helm.
Right. That is still going to be the way that we are going to win this game the vast majority of the time.
Yeah, like Needle doesn't have a great target either.
Yeah.
Rituals and getting
So
out fast are great. Hand disruption.
So I would also be looking at bringing in the Tourach. The times where you can kick a Tourach will matter. It's not necessarily 100% coming in, but we should definitely consider. So we've got Shadowspear and Pithing Needle out. Iggy is playable, but a lot of things have to kind of go right, and we don't necessarily want to be mulliganing towards a Leyline in this matchup. So we're probably going to board Iggy out.
Cool.
We're probably going to board Karn out for being slow.
Yeah.
And that'll give us 4 cards that we really want to cut. We could bring in another Helm if we wanted. Just kind of looking at the numbers here. Tourach's probably not going to make it in. So I would throw the 4 cards you've got there and Tourach out. And this is 62. Now, we definitely want Sheoldred. Sheoldred is a great way to bleed our opponent out. We could do something like cut 2 ley lines. Like, it's a little weird, but we don't necessarily need 8 of that effect for this matchup.
Yeah, nice. Orcish is still pretty good, especially with Brainstorm, Ponder, and having that early interaction.
I am not excited about this hand.
No.
We don't have the ability to activate Urza Saga, and we don't get the opposition agent down super fast.
Yeah.
I would ship this one.
Nice. Also, the benefit of having Leyline without really a way to make use of it is poor against a deck that isn't going to use that graveyard that much anyway. Okay, we have a ritual.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize.
This hand is going to do stuff, and you just have to decide how you want to do stuff. It's absolutely a keep.
Yes. Yeah, because in a vacuum, turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 play Saga, ritual to 4 mana with Saga, and then sack the Saga to the Beseech to search for whatever we want in a perfect world.
Yeah, so like I kind of like turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 put a Sheoldred into play.
Nice. Yeah. I assume
you can also go for combo, but I don't know that that's better than just Sheoldred. You probably pitch Dauthi Voidwalker here and keep the extra land.
Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit greedy of me to think about the swamp, just because there's so many good 2 black mana spells we want, and also just having the 3rd land for Saga in case this doesn't resolve. Oh, is it part of the
It's a part of the cost that you do the bargain. Yeah. Note that it's also perfectly valid to consider other ways to play this hand, such as like Dark Ritual, Dauthi Voidwalker, Thoughtseize on turn 1. We will take Personal Tutor.
Yeah, nice. Leave them with a draw and mana.
Now we're wrecked if our opponent hits Doomsday in one of 2 draws, but turn 2 Sheoldred could beat their Doomsday pile, maybe, depending on how they build it. Because a lot of times when you build an early Doomsday pile, you build it with a lot of like card draw or cycling in some capacity, and Sheoldred punishes that.
Yeah, especially with do you know if is Ideas Unbound kind of a flex card based on the build?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Do you run into... You guys
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, do you run into much Doomsday on like sort of a daily basis for the decks you play?
Absolutely. Oh, that's a great draw. Yeah. So before you play any other cards, I would actually consider playing Chalice on 0. to see if your opponent responds to that at all. Because if your opponent were to randomly have drawn blue card, and if they cycle Street Wraith, like there's some world where they would Force of Will this instead of a Beseech. Now we're off to the races.
Yeah, the only thing I hope they don't have is opposition agent off the top. I don't think
if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
So now you can, if you want, consider sacking the Chalice on 0 now that we drew that. I think the Urza Saga is fine to get rid of, though.
Nice. Where are you? Sheoldred. Yes. Nice.
All right, so your opponent should cycle their Street Wraith right here.
Okay. I guess they could find Daze or brainstorm into blue card force.
Well, they got a lot of card draws out of the way before the Sheoldred came down, which is very good for them.
Force. Okay. To be fair, at least we still have double swamp, which doesn't sound like much, but it allows us to cast a lot off the top.
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to play the Chalice on 0 as a potential bait card. Our opponent didn't bite on it, but it helps a lot. Having the Chalice on 0 doesn't stop a Doomsday, but it probably stops a Doomsday into win on the same turn line.
Did we see? I assume there's at least one LED as well.
A lot of Doomsday decks will have one for certain piles.
So,
and we're chilling.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, we could cast Chrome Mox, but obviously that
ends
pretty badly with the Chalice. Yeah.
And sometimes your games look like this where, you know, your primary threat gets stopped and you have like some soft hate in play that will last a little while. Okay, so here's the Doomsday. And that will beat us most of the time. It depends on how quickly my opponent builds the pile.
What is the highest number of colors you've been able to tap a single Chrome Mox for? And what was the card you put under it?
Oh, I'm sure that I have put a Progenitus or something of that nature under a Chrome Mox.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I can remember putting like some big 3-color cards like Atraxa under Chrome Mox from recent memory. But I have played some abominations of legacy decks that have been held together by Chrome Mox.
Nice. Yeah, I think if I saw Chrome Mox pitch Progenitus, I'll just be like, this is probably not going to end well for me. It's good deck building, though. I mean, Chrome Mox, that's just the Mox timing, right?
Yeah. More commonly with Chrome Mox, you run into these kind of like weird situations. So Chrome Mox specifically says that you can exile a non-artifact, non-land card. So every once in a while, you run into like these colored artifacts that you put into your deck that you're like, oh, this card is black. I can put it under Chrome Mox. And no, you can't. Can't imprint that like Kappa Cannoneer, for example.
Yeah, or like a Wishclaw Talisman.
Yep.
Huh. The more you know.
And Painter Servant sometimes gets a little weird with cards like this, where you're like, oh, this card is blue now. I can pitch it to Force of Will. Surely I can put it under Chrome Mox too. Well, no, you can't put your, Ancient Tomb under Chrome Mox, even if Ancient Tomb becomes blue.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Have you played much Doomsday yourself?
I have played a handful of leagues. The deck is very explicitly powerful, but it's one of those decks where it's better if you have the time to really dedicate to learning how you beat various sideboard cards.
Yeah.
Like, as someone who is, I don't know, maybe played lifetime somewhere between 5 and 10 Doomsday leagues, it's not enough for me to understand all the fringe scenarios that come up where it's like, okay, if I build the pile this way, it plays around Mindbreak Trap and Thoughtseize. But if I build the pile this way, it plays around Collector Oof. Yeah. So somewhat comically, we probably lost this game because we did not sacrifice the Chalice of the Void on 0. Because if we sacrificed the Chalice of the Void on 0 and then made Urza Saga construct tokens afterwards, we would have been able to punch our opponent to death, as we would have drawn 2 more Chrome Mox in to increase the size of our construct.
Yes. Very true.
But, was that play correct at the time when we knew our opponent had double Lotus Petal? Harder
Tough.
to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I do really like. I think it's Max Torsion who has kind of a spreadsheet of different lines with Oracle.
Yeah, I've used that for some of my videos. It's very useful. GG's.
Look, I'm happy to go down to Doomsday in game 1. Just get the sort of ruffle the feathers.
Well, we knew from the time that we took the initial Beseech line that if our opponent had the Force of Will, that the game was going to be very tough to win. But we also knew all but one of our opponent's cards, so they needed to get a blue card and a Force of Will between their one draw and Street Wraith. So, it is a very reasonable gamble to have taken.
Yeah. Also interesting to point out that we did bottom the Voidwalker to keep the second black source, and we didn't actually draw a second black source if we did keep the Voidwalker instead, because if we had the Chalice in play, we would be able to cast the Chrome Mox in. So, although it's like a mono black deck, you do have a lot of non mono black cards. Okay. Well, we have the combo in Voidwalker and Helm. We do have a turn 1 Voidwalker if we want, by putting Awakening under Mox. We also have something like Saga, Needle named Wasteland.
Yeah, that the hand's a keep. It's good. Yeah, you intend on doing turn 1 Voidwalker with the hand looking like this.
Drop.
Oh yeah, this hand's very good now.
Yeah, I assume here it's Swamp, Chrome Mox, pitch, Awakening, play
Yep.
Voidwalker.
Yep.
Nice. That really shows the flexibility of these cards. Used to seeing it in Oopsal spells, but really nice here as well.
Yeah, and those sorts of cards are only going to get better, right? Because more things are going to happen that make you want to do unfair things with Chrome Mox. Second Tropical Island Pass is a little weird.
Yeah, especially no infect creature, no cantrip.
It has me thinking maybe blue-green show and tell.
Yeah.
Like with Veil of Summers. Regardless, we can attack with Dauthi Voidwalker.
Yes. Double drop.
So we're doing a Saga. We probably play Pithing Needle and take a shot in the dark. If you want something that there's like 100% chance of being in the deck, the name is just like Misty Rainforest. You can swing for the fences harder with something like Grizzlebrand, but a decent portion of the time that's just a miss. I would just go for a blue green fetch land here and just stop that.
Yeah, funnily enough, they show until they lose, right? Because Helm comes in.
Yep.
Well, they have the city. Huh. But still.
So here we might run into sort of an interesting situation where it might not be correct to cast Helm, and instead we hold it and just plan on making some Urza Saga tokens for a little while. So if you play Urza's Saga, you will be able to make additional Urza Saga tokens next turn as well by playing Ancient Tomb.
Yes, nice. Very cool.
And we can still pivot into a Helm kill if we end up thinking that's correct. The other reason to not go for a direct Helm kill is that our opponent's deck at this stage may contain Emrakul.
Otawara. Huh.
Okay.
Really buying time.
That is interesting and not something that I would have expected. So the question then becomes, do we give up one Urza Saga token to recast that card if our opponent cares that much about it? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah. Especially because show and tell just gives us the win then, pretty much. It'd be very hard for them to interact otherwise.
Okay. Yep.
But Omniscience does show away.
Yeah, I fully was not expecting Otawara. I guess we should have waited to play our land until our post-combat main phase.
That's on me. Oh, Beseech. Oh.
That does things. So if we beseeched, we could get something like a Sheoldred. We don't have a Leyline in play for an Iggy. I'm just trying to figure out like if it's faster and safer for us to go for a combo or if we just make constructs. And I think we just make constructs, right? Like Urza Saga with Swamp and Chrome Mox, and then play Ancient Tomb, make another set, and just work towards killing our opponent.
Nice. Because they're currently at 16.
Like the life will go very fast. I do not foresee us needing Chrome Mox here, so Shadowspear is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have our opponent on a 2-turn clock. Pretty close to a... Let's see. So we'll have 5, 6... Oh no, our opponent's dead next turn. Because Urza Saga represents 3 more artifacts, and Vault of Whispers represents another one. What just went under that?
Intuition.
Intuition. Okay.
Are they going to 2...
Are they hard casting an
7?
Omniscience?
Or a Traxa? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Quickly.
That's honestly beatable. Like our constructs will be bigger.
Yeah.
Than a Traxa.
4, 5, 6,
All right.
7, 8.
How bad are the revealed cards here?
Mind over matter? Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
With the one ring. Okay. All right. Praxa, one ring, mind over matter, intuition city. Okay. All right. So we don't have a main deck removal spell, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we don't. So can't beseech for that.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana.
So we can plan on winning this game fairly or unfairly. I'm not sure how hard mind over matter can pop off with the ring next turn. Our opponent has 2, 3, 4, 5. We should assume 6 mana, maybe 7 with Chrome Mox. Or I guess they've got an Ancient Tomb.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, with the tomb. 2, 4, 6.
So playing Orcish Bowmasters this turn probably makes it very hard for our opponent to do one ring things. I think we make our construct. We'll get a Chrome Mox even if we don't imprint, and I think we are going to want to keep our Beseech.
Yeah.
So we play Vault.
And
we
then,
can go ahead and crash in with the constructs. We're fine if our opponent trades. We're fine if they don't. All right. So they net lose 1 life, and I would probably just sorcery speed lay out the Bowmasters.
Nice.
That way, nothing tricky can happen in response later. And we've got lethal next turn while being insulated against one ring combo specifically.
Probably show and tell here.
This is show and tell. Yep. Which is actually very good for us because it means that we can win the game on our opponent's next upkeep potentially. Well, I guess it depends on whether or not they have Emrakul in their deck. Oh, they put mind over matter into play.
Untap their lands?
So they're going to play the one ring. To get protection from everything.
That's, yeah. I wonder why they didn't put in the Omniscience. Unless they... Oh, didn't take it and took the mind over matter instead? Huh.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Apologies.
All right. So, little trick here. You can shoot your orc token.
Nice. And then obviously it becomes a... so now you get to draw their deck. But we just get a massive orc. We can always go save targets. Interesting.
So, what's our opponent going to do? Are they going to eventually just show and tell in Omniscience?
Yeah, I assume so. I assume
what's the kill is what I'm curious about, because they're going to die to their one ring. Or no, I guess they can play another one. I guess you just Oracle?
Yeah, it could definitely be Oracle. Huh. Do they play? Okay, there's Veil of Summers. It's good to know about.
So now we know what the Pithing Needle should have gone on, but that would have been very difficult to have determined at the time.
Yes. Yeah, the funny thing is they actually haven't even shown a Misty yet. I assume it's in the deck. That's cool. I knew people were talking about Mind Over Matter when the ring got spoiled.
We're going big mana.
Yeah, interesting to we haven't seen a Ponder or Brainstorm yet. Any one mana cantrip. Omniscience. One ring, nice.
Okay.
Sure.
So our whole Helm combo thing is not gonna do it. Our opponent's probably a Chalice deck if we're seeing Ancient Tombs now. No initial cantrips.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to think if we could mill them when they're trying to draw a card.
Well, at this point, yeah, I guess it's worth playing out for another 30 seconds to see if
They return the Emrakul?
So that puts all their stuff back in their deck, so we can't mill them out. Gross.
Ah, smart. I think we can probably concede here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Cool to see it together. Okay.
So generally speaking, a lot of our stuff is not going to do anything super relevant. So Opposition Agent is good, Tourach is good.
Especially for an intuition deck.
So
yeah, probably second Helm.
Helm doesn't represent a kill. Helm can represent our own Atraxa or Emrakul, which is fine. What we have to do is weigh whether or not we would like to play Karn, because Karn represents shutting off the One Ring. And if we play Karn, we would kind of like the Ensnaring Bridge and Helm of Obedience to be in the sideboard to tutor for.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I do like having the Karn with that option. Probably Shadowspear is a pretty easy cut.
Oh yeah, Shadowspear just 100% goes. And then from there, the cards that we are playing are all reasonable. Iggy is interesting but unnecessary. If we have trouble figuring out what we want to cut, I usually default to cutting that. But this is one of those times where our opponent kind of wants to build up multiple cards, so it can be nice. If Helm is not as reliable of a win condition. We could kind of do what we did before. We could cut 2 Leylines, but if we cut Leylines to play Iggy, then it's less consistent to actually work. So
Yes.
I don't know that that's where we want to end up. I might just trim 1 Leyline and call this good.
Cool.
Yeah, this is great.
Is there any benefit to leading on the vault, or would you rather just lead on the swamp?
I would probably lead on the vault. The artifact count matters.
Okay, nice.
And this is no.
Sorry. Of course, Duck Richard. Yeah, that's my bad. Yes. Well, apologies. We can, of course, Dark Ritual, Voidwalker, Thoughtseize, and then hopefully take a big fatty and then put it into play with said Voidwalker. Lesson learned. Lesson learned. I was force checking. Oh, they play out the Chrome Mox, but it can't tap for Veil, which is nice.
So this is now very awkward because our hand kind of does nothing. So we probably need to play Urza's Saga so that we can have enough pressure, which means using Dark Ritual to cast Dauthi Voidwalker.
Yes.
Yeah. Dauthi Voidwalker has some minimal amount of text here. And that, like, our opponent is an intuition deck, so, like, we can exile some things that end up going to graveyard. Our opponent must be just 1 card away from killing us.
So close.
Yep. So we'll have some decisions next turn regarding, like, are we casting Beseech versus are we just making another Urza Saga construct token? Ooh. So you can Urza Saga, get Chrome Mox, Beseech, play Swamp, play Orcish Bowmasters, and that's probably our most aggressive line. I would go with that.
Nice.
This just leaves our opponent dead next turn while making cantrips not an easy out.
Upkeep, or we'll see if they nothing. Okay.
Yeah, upkeep's fine.
Force pitch, show and tell.
Ooh.
Okay.
I mean, we're happy with that interaction, right?
They have Ancient Tomb. It has to be show and tell.
It probably needs to be show and tell into something that ultimately produces the One Ring.
Or Atraxa with life gain?
No, Atraxa wouldn't beat us on its own. We would just Dauthi Voidwalker over 2 turns and they can't attack.
Nice.
Because we would crack back with the constructs for more.
Correct. Oh. Well, Emrakul doesn't do it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't beat us.
Nice.
So on the draw, we can consider playing Sheoldred's Edict. for show and tell lines that only put in a creature. I would be super interested in Sudden Edict, as it is uncounterable. I am not as interested in Sheoldred's Edict. It's possible.
This list only plays Sheoldred's Edict.
Yeah. It's possible we want one as a Beseech the Mirror target.
Yeah, I don't mind having one on the list.
And like that could be better than Tourach on the draw.
Nice. Sorry, I thought for a second you saw a Sudden Edict in the list, and I was like, where did he see it? A lot of mana and a lot of exile, but
this hand doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is just a mulligan. It doesn't do anything. It just makes a 3/2 on turn 1.
This is a 1-lander with Ritual. Probably a better.
This is probably good enough.
Okay.
Like, we can keep this pitching Beseech the Mirror. We probably have 3 draw steps to hit a second land drop to play a reasonable game of Magic.
Oh.
Alright, did not get turn 1, which is nice.
Yeah, I think he would be best out. Oh, okay. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, so I would probably play Swamp here. Just kind of respecting Force of Vigor as a card that it would be reasonable for my opponent to cast. And we're always casting our Dark Ritual. We got to do something on this turn.
Yeah, I don't mind him.
Yeah, I believe it is more important to disrupt first. So I am also in favor of him.
Force. Okay.
That's very good.
I guess that is kind of a him.
Yeah, like we got the same number of cards, but we did not have a chance at taking the ones that matter. I imagine that our opponent is setting up for a show and tell kill.
Yes. Which... Okay.
So I imagine that we put in our Pithing Needle here.
Yeah.
And name the One Ring.
Okay.
And we're probably dead to the Atraxa.
Yeah. Does Veil stop Sheoldred's Edict? Is it target player or each opponent?
I think
it's each opponent. Each opponent.
Each opponent. So we can Karn for Ensnaring Bridge, but our opponent Ottawaras that. So we need to get to 4 mana, play another... So we probably play Dauthi Voidwalker over Bowmasters, right? Like, we just need to represent a potential combo kill. The issue is that, like, our opponent's Dismember is just very good. And opponent has protection from everything this turn, so our him doesn't do the cool stuff that we would like it to do this turn. It maybe can next turn. So we'll just Dauthi, and then when our opponent taps... Or yeah, I guess we can hold that back. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when our opponent taps the One Ring, we can... Oh, no, they didn't.
Because the Needle, thankfully.
Right. Sorry.
No, all good. I've been there many a times. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's a world. I guess with Ottawa it's tough, but I'd love to be able to like him them, get a Traxa in the bin, and then Voidwalker it. But maybe there's a world where they dismember something else, or maybe even dismember the Voidwalker in response. Honestly, they probably don't care too much. You're also at 27. Okay.
Yeah, life's not great. I mean, we'll try. And then this just takes out the Voidwalker, and then we are dead on board to the flyer.
Tough.
GG's.
Look, it's all good. It's all good. A little bit of combo here and there. It is cool to see. I was gonna say blue-black with the ring as well. But as you said, Show and Tell's probably not a matchup that you want to come up against too much. This is probably a mulligan. All the mana in the world, and like
definitely a mulligan.
Piece, but no real.
Yeah, that has no ability to present something resembling a win.
Yeah, this is nice.
This is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. Probably the Sheoldred's going down.
You either throw back Sheoldred or Leyline. So, like...
1, 2...
A lot of this depends on how much mana you think you need, and whether or not you think the Chrome Mox is actually good with this hand. Like, you can just keep 2 lands, turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Bowmasters, and not get the Chrome Mox involved in the conversation, hoping to draw a little bit of mana later, and then you can keep the Leyline in play in the starting hand. I kind of like throwing back Chrome Mox.
Yeah, I like that as well. Especially that you like talk through it as well. It seems a lot more appealing.
Like, some portion of the time you never draw a soul land to get to 4 mana to play the Sheoldred, and... Okay. So, we know what's up.
Yeah. Okay. There's that Chrome Mox again.
Alright, it's back.
Come on, 5-minute spell. There it is. So they have 1, 2, yeah, all 3. Have you played this deck on stream?
Yes.
Did you enjoy it?
It's very fun. It's very volatile. Like, it's not super consistent, and even when you're doing things that are moving towards a win, like, it's very much not guaranteed. So something to keep in mind is that maybe not this turn, but probably beginning next turn, we want to leave up 1 mana so that if our opponent demonstrates us into a Helm, we can represent a kill. It may even be worth imprinting a Orcish Bowmasters under Chrome Mox this turn so that we can have that extra mana up in case they draw like an untapped like Ancient Tomb or City of Traders.
Very cool.
This gives up a little bit of value.
Play this, but pay.
But, you know, is potentially worth it. Our Bowmasters are unfortunately not very good in this matchup.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
So it begins. Do we want a Bowmaster here or do anything?
Your opponent's not drawing any cards. You don't need to respond.
Okay. I do love that there's still decks that come out like this just because one card was printed.
I'm just glad that it's finally on Magic Online.
Yes.
All right, let's find a Helm.
Beseech the Mirror.
Beseech the Mirror.
That's pretty good, because what if we get rid of the Chrome Mox? Oh,
yeah.
But then, is it a sorcery speed? No,
we can cast it. So we cast Beseech the Mirror, paying Bargain, sacrificing Chrome Mox, and then we Helm our opponent. Yeah.
Oh, good. We get Helm. We cast it. Nice. Look at that.
And this is what I mean about playing that deck. Like, it is very easy to lose to your opponent's cards in this fashion.
Yeah, I believe on the podcast you said like Teferi is another big card that's like, oh, okay. That changes.
The white-blue Lavinia is another one that's pretty rough.
Yes. Okay.
So our cards maybe don't do the most as far as our sideboard is concerned here.
Yeah. Like when I think of big creatures, I think of Ensnaring Bridge, but then of course they have both Otawara and Beseiju as ways to interact with Ensnaring Bridge.
We probably still bring it in though.
Okay, cool.
Because like we're gonna bring in that, we're gonna bring in the Helm.
Probably take out the Karn then?
Yeah, the Karn is slow here, and our opponent's not so much on artifact mana. Tourach. Yeah, we can probably get rid of Shadowspear. Tourach technically does stuff.
Is Needle on either one of the lands worth it, or is that a card we just bought out?
We might not have that many cards that we want to board in, right? Like we'll board in Tourach as a card that can disrupt our opponent's hand. Ill-Gotten Gains is pretty gross in this matchup.
Gross in a good way?
Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Right. Like our opponent is trying to play 3 lands and then resolve one of their many cascade spells, and taking all of those out at the same time is pretty good.
Yeah, yes.
In situations where we go for the combo, like their only ways to really disrupt that are land-based. I don't know that Pithing Needle is great, but Opposition Agent isn't very good either. So I might cut one more Opposition Agent. Is Opposition Agent better than Orcish Bowmasters, actually? They're both pretty bad.
Yeah. I guess Orcish gives you the token for Beseech at worst.
Yeah, let's cut one Opposition Agent.
Nice. One, two, three. Okay. Has early mana. It has like the Saga setup, which is nice.
I'm not sure that this hand does anything. Like,
yeah, because I guess Tourach is kind of a 4-drop for the
role
we want it for.
Our first major impactful spell happens on 4 mana, which is turn 3. I think we can just do better than this.
Yeah. Okay. Ooh.
This hand is a keep. We have to figure out how to play it. So Orcish Bowmasters represents the token for Beseech if we are beseeching. It's a little awkward that the Dark Ritual either casts Dauthi Voidwalker or Beseech the Mirror or Hymn to Tourach, but not all of them.
Yes.
So I think Beseech the Mirror in the short term is the worst card. If we plan on winning this one via a combo kill, we probably throw back either him or Orcish Bowmasters, probably him,
Yeah.
and hope to draw a second black source for turn 2 so that we can just play Dauthi Voidwalker without using Dark Ritual.
Yeah. Nice.
Hand's not perfect. Ooh. So that's good. So we can swamp Chrome Mox, imprint Bowmasters, and play Dauthi on 1, and then Beseech on 2.
Yes, because the Chrome Mox is, of course, our way to actually get there, which is nice.
Yep.
Chrome Mox, Pitch Bowmaster. Nice. Swamp. Void. Damn. So they have open green.
Fine. So let's see. Do we need to Ancient Tome? So if we cast Dark Ritual, we will have 5 mana if we play Urborg, which is enough for Beseech and Activate already. Yeah, that seems fine.
Yeah, because Ancient Tomb, 2 mana from Ritual, and Chrome Mox is 4 for Beseech and then 1 to activate.
Yeah, we can play Ancient Tomb if you want. It's largely probably irrelevant. So you don't want to tap your mana like that. You want to have the ability to go to their upkeep, right?
Yes.
So you leave Ancient Tomb up.
Nice. Can they make a blue? Okay, nice. They can't actually, yeah, they can't bounce an upkeep,
All right,
which is nice.
GG's.
Nice. That was a pretty good showing of how the deck can pivot so quickly. Especially with, like, just one little Chrome Mox. And it's like, oh, things are now actually online really well.
Yeah, Beseech does a ton of work in giving you that flexibility.
What's this? This is 4 mana turn 1?
This is a bit of a weird hand. It's going to be a keep, and we'll see what we end up doing with it, depending on what our opponent shows us.
Oh, no, okay.
Nice.
Sorry, Newton. Okay.
All right.
That's
so
probably an easy one now to put under the Chrome Mox.
That is our Chrome Mox. That is one of our Chrome Mox targets for sure. So from here, we decide whether or not we need Dark Ritual. If we don't think we need Dark Ritual, we can put it under Chrome Mox. Like we can go turbo here, play Urza's Saga, cast Dark Ritual, play Dauthi Voidwalker, and 1 Bowmaster, and that's pretty respectable.
Yeah, I really like that.
Let's do it.
Just in case.
Just tap your Urza Saga for mana now, or you want to make sure that the Bowmaster uses the colorless mana.
Yes, very true. Yeah, it would be tough to like go Chrome Mox, and then opponent just naturally have like the one-off Collector Oof. This is a pretty sweet turn one. Like 5 permanents in play.
Yeah, it's 5 power with
power?
the ability to ping another thing. Although we will decide whether or not we are just going to...
Old school Elves.
Oh, that's such a good draw. Now we don't have to make the choice. So you can crash in with all of your creatures here, since we have a second Orcish Bowmasters. Like, if we're willing to use that Bowmasters, like, it is just totally fine to take another creature off the battlefield and not get an Urza Saga construct token. Like, we're very good with that.
Yeah, especially from like a Cradle perspective, obviously Natural Order. Glimpse, I assume. Even cards like what is the 1-mana 1/1 elf that you can tap another elf along with it to tap for mana?
Birchlaw Ranger.
Thank you. Which, to be fair, Glimpse is not great to cast into a Bowmaster.
Things happen sometimes, you know?
Yes. Okay.
Opponent has a very respectable board for turn 3, despite 2 elves dying.
Yeah. Okay.
Making the construct is fine.
Yeah.
It's probably better than just like Shadowspear equipping this turn.
Yeah, that was my only thought, if they would have a hoof line that actually deals, but I don't think they do, so that's really nice. Needle doesn't do a... Oh, this actually isn't a mana ability, is it?
So you would want to be needling something like Wirewood Symbiote or maybe Allosaurus Shepherd here. So assuming that our opponent does not block, they are going to take 6 this turn and go to 8. The Pithing Needle is the defensive play that makes it harder for them to win. The Shadowspear is the offensive play that makes it more likely that a construct token can kill them next turn. And I'll let you make the call.
Yeah, I like the Shadowspear for sure. Nice. Honestly, with Cradle on board, like, I think we're happy to trade anything if possible.
Yes, if we take a creature off the board, like we're good with Bowmasters dying.
It is cool to see players testing out the like older versions of Elves.
But yeah, I see this version of Elves more in paper than I do online. Yeah. I feel like a lot of players who just occasionally get to play Legacy like the vibes of the old school Elves deck.
This feels like a natural. Okay.
It's probably just something like an Atraxa, though.
Yeah, which isn't actually too scary.
Air quotes, just.
Yeah. Okay. So that 4.
This is a good turn for them.
Yeah, wow. So they kept Why would Cradle Green Suns? So the last card we know about is Green Suns. Doesn't do a whole lot.
Is there anything interesting in their exile zone for Dauthi Voidwalker purposes? Not really. Gaia's Cradle.
Oh, yeah, because you can't natural order for Sheoldred. We can't actually naturally, yeah.
So we can use Dark Ritual to both activate an Urza Saga and equip a Shadowspear.
Yeah. Probably to the Voidwalker?
Probably to the Voidwalker for now. We may end up moving it to a construct later once the constructs are Atraxicized. So this is going to be 4/4. Playing Chrome Mox makes them 5/5. Shadowspear would be 6/6. Yeah, next turn we might end up moving one. You don't have to play the Chrome Mox this turn, right?
Yeah, I assume it won't come up the hoof next turn and like the 2 damage matters.
Yeah, if they hoof, I expect we are fully dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we don't. Let's see. I guess we would like to Helm kill our opponent some portion of the time because they're going to go back to 11 with that Atraxa attack. We're a mana short of Beseech. We don't have a black card to imprint as of right now.
We do. Oh, okay. Well, of course, they had the Green Suns in hand. We knew about that. We didn't know about the second Cradle, though, because they played a Cradle last turn. Because there should be 3 Cradles in total. 1, 2, 3, yeah.
All right, GG.
Yeah. Really nice showing from them as well. To come back from a pretty great start. We couldn't have asked for too much more. We like the Plagues. We probably like the Damnation.
Oh yeah.
The Edicts and the Opposition Agents also line up pretty well.
I would agree with that.
The question is, for this sort of matchup, how much do we want to stay on the Voidwalker Leyline? Because if you line it up, you nearly have 8 Leyline, Helm. Karn does get Bridge.
So I think most of the time we will be finishing with the combo. Just kind of looking at things here. I don't know that we are going to out fairly damage them a lot of the time. So I would be looking at cutting ill-gotten gains. Pithing Needle is fine. I don't know that it's going to end up staying in the deck.
Yeah.
I don't think I like him to Tourach.
Yeah. Nice.
I think this match is about playing to the board. I think I'm interested in cutting Needle Sheoldred.
Yeah. Nice. I think although Sheoldred's obviously quite powerful, I think that Bowmaster
I think we're also going to want some sudden edicts.
Okay.
I don't know that we're playing all of them, but we want to get hiccups that get us to 4 mana. So I think that means cutting Shadowspear for 1 and cutting Karn for a second one, and we just ignore the fact that there's an Ensnaring Bridge in our deck.
Nice. Yeah, because even though they have a lot of creatures, having things like the This is a pretty sweet hand. Turn 1, Thoughtseize, into turn 2, hold up Edict or potentially Agent if they Green Suns.
Turn 1 sorcery speed opposition agent.
Okay, yeah.
No fetch land ever.
Yeah. Even better. Opponent goes to 6.
Like, I spent enough time playing with Aven Mind Sensor that I know how bad it feels when your opponent plays around opposition agent. So I tend to err on the side of, like, give up the got you value for the consistency of never letting your opponent do the thing if they play around it.
Yeah. I think that's like a nice like level up. And I think it's something that I can definitely work on. Especially with Maverick, like there's a lot of like sort of like more fun plays, but sometimes it's just better to do something at sorcery speed.
Yeah, and by sandbagging the Thoughtseize for a little while, we can make it more likely that it hits a relevant natural order, right? So, like, our next turn now is probably Sheoldred Edict, whatever creature our opponent plays out, and then Thoughtseize. At that point, we've got 5 power in play.
What sort of removal would you expect them to have for opposition agent? Obviously, some of the more traditional stuff like Snuff Out.
Abrupt Decay or Snuff. Well, Snuff Out doesn't see a lot of play in the traditional elves. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, I would assume they know that.
We'll just do that.
Coming. Yeah.
And folks in chat, if you would like a tutorial for why the Cradle Control Newton Elves build is seeing a lot more play than this build, that's it right there. Just Bowmasters, Plague Engineer, such a beating.
Yes. Honestly, pretty happy just to run back the same list.
Yeah, on the draw, Sheoldred's Edict gets a little bit worse, like in that your opponent can get out in front of you and often have 2 creatures down before you can Edict, so you won't always get the one that you want. But again, we're trying to just make it to the later turns.
Yeah.
We could do something like pull 1 Thoughtseize to get 1 more Sheoldred's Edict in there, but I think I'm good with what we have.
Yeah. Nice. Do they have the ability to turn 2 natural order with a Cradle?
Maybe off turn 1 Dryad Arbor.
Yes, you'd have to be
like Green Sun 4 Dryad Arbor.
Yep.
Like you can do some very cute things when both Birchfloor Ranger and Dryad Arbor and Gaia's Cradle get involved.
Yes.
I am fine with this hand. We are reliant on the top of our deck to, over the course of 3 draw steps, spit up a follow-up play, but this is strong.
They kept a 7. Okay. That's actually pretty interesting because I did think about like Ritual into Thoughtseize into Bowmaster, but Bowmaster against Sentinel just isn't that great.
Yep, so we'll probably just swamp and Thoughtseize our opponent here.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Huh. So the Visionary is a great target for the Bowmaster. But they do...
I believe that Natural Order is the card that currently beats us the hardest and the fastest. I'm very confused, though. Like, our opponent was on the play and didn't cast Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. Probably just a little hiccup.
I think it's a hiccup. I think we are taking Natural Order and hoping to find a way to not die to Grist. I think leaving them with the Natural Order is just a little too spooky.
Yeah.
This is another misstep from our opponent. They're supposed to attack with Nettle Sentinel and then play Elvish Visionary post combat to untap it.
Yes.
I owned Elves in paper for quite some time, and I'm no Elves master, but I've played a lot of builds that look like that one. Newton Elves still throws me for a loop. That deck's hard.
Yes. How would you rate Elves as like a deck that like a new player might want to get into?
I used to very highly encourage people to get into Elves as a starting deck list. I think Reclaimer Elves is too hard for a lot of people to easily pick up.
Yeah. Honestly, I really like just holding up Ritual here with double Bowmaster because there's a world where we
No,
get
I
to
don't.
no.
I don't think you give them that extra mana, right? Because right now they have 3 mana and they can 100% of the time cast Grist.
Yes.
And I would prefer to make them have a land, especially since that Nettle Sentinel is currently tapped.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's okay. That's very true. Yeah. See, I think that again, that's probably me just thinking straight away to the non-sorcery speed and more like, oh, we can get them, and yeah, obviously something I can work on.
Yeah, when you have the opportunity to make a cute play or a good play, I
Oh my
tried to make.
gosh.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, that feels good.
That's a tough
And
one at the moment.
now our opponent has done this in a way that our Orc army token could now trade with Nettle Sentinel.
Yes.
Delicious. Let's just draw a Helm, though. Let's just draw a Helm.
1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, especially with Ritual.
Yeah, like Helm or Beseech represents a kill that our opponent probably can't disrupt.
Have you played
I mean,
Grist in many of your sort of recent decks on ThrabenU?
yes, Grist is much more impressive than it looks. Like, you look at that Planeswalker and you go like, yeah, it's kind of whatever. And then you see it in practice and it just feels like an absolute monster. We don't need to... I guess it's fine. Yeah, so by similar logic to what we did last time, I would attack in with the Orcish Bowmasters as well and see if your opponent wants to block. Yeah, so do it before damage so that we can get one more point of damage in with the Orc.
Yes. I assume they're holding up Dried Arbor, but it is really nice to get rid of this Nettle right now. Oh, they didn't go for Dried Arbor.
Wow.
Because now the Cradle's obviously turned off as well.
Yeah, I am unsure how proficient our opponent is with this deck.
Heritage. Once. Green Suns. Okay. So they still have once and still have Grist.
Yeah, so we'll ship in with our Orc. Our Bowmaster doesn't get to attack anymore.
Yeah, they could definitely be new to the format as well. Which is always nice. It's always good to see new players, both online and offline.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, but there have just been a couple of things, right? Like missing the Once Upon a Time on turn 1, not fetching Dryad Arbor to grow Cradle to 100% cast Grist. I think there were a couple of questionable decisions that indicate like maybe the person is new to the format or at least new-ish to this deck. They also did not just immediately go for like the creature-based mana. If they end up plussing with Grist, their Gaia's Cradle would make more mana, and then they could use that to like once and try to continue casting more spells.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, this is very strange timing.
Yeah, I wasn't too
right?
sure.
Because like the next thing is that's going to happen is probably our opponent casting Once Upon a Time, which does not draw cards, so you don't need the Orcish Bowmaster off the table. And our opponent now needs to play another creature to chump block the Orc army token that's coming.
Must be great. Oh, natural order. Okay.
That's fine. This is very beatable. Right? Because it is just going. Oh.
Oh. Your Chrome Mox, mate.
Yeah. I'm not sure that that's better than Atraxa.
We're probably
Yeah,
playing the
so
Plague Engineer on Insect.
yeah. And at this point, we're fine playing the Urborg out as well. We're just hoping to hit one of our 4 copies of Beseech or Helm.
Yes.
And then we have a win.
When it comes to decks that are sent to you for YouTube, do you find there's like a certain color combination or colors that people just love to play that you might not necessarily see at like the top like competitive levels? Like would you say like mono black or like green black are like big in the donation deck list sector but not so big in others?
Okay, let me say this prefacing that I understand that right now black is one of the best colors in Legacy. But when black wasn't good, I still got so many black deck lists. You know, the Pox decks, the mono black Stabby decks, the Rotting Regisaur decks. I got so much of that, even in times where it wasn't super competitive. So I would say there's much more black in the random jank that I play.
Yeah, that's always interesting. I find like Pox definitely has like its community. People just love playing Pox or like seeing people play Pox.
No token for Grist because of Plague Engineer on Insect.
All right, Phil, here we go. Big draw.
Feeling lucky.
I'd love to say yes, but we're not.
Okay, we're dead.
That is it. GG. Nice.
And you can't be mad at those, right? Like we capitalized on our opponent's mistakes, but we did not ultimately, have the draws that we needed to finish the game, and that's okay.
Yeah. What is the black card that I believe is from a commander set a few years ago that allows black to deal with enchantments?
That is, I've got it on my Mox field
Nice.
because I just played a deck with it. Okay, it wasn't that black deck. It was a different black deck.
I
Was
think
it
chat's
this
got
one?
you. Feed the Swarm.
Feed the Swarm. There it is. Yeah, could see the art in my head. Yeah, so black is allowed to remove enchantments just infrequently and usually at a pretty bad rate.
Not a great hand. Just the
I am
mana's a
not
write-off.
excited about this one on 7. This
Okay.
is totally reasonable.
Yeah. Probably just bottom in the
Probably-
Shadowspear, as
yeah.
we can find it with the Saga. So Thoughtseize into Voidwalker into Saga into Voidwalker?
No, we play both Voidwalkers out first.
Before we Thoughtseize.
Yes. No, sorry. You play probably Vault of Whispers on turn 1 and Thoughtseize your opponent. So you want to play Dauthi Voidwalker into Dauthi Voidwalker as your next 2 plays.
Gotcha.
Because if you play Urza Saga, you kind of lock yourself out. All right.
Right. This was not the
So,
Beseech that I thought.
More of what we don't want to see. We are. We're probably taking the intuition as it serves as a tutor, and we don't have an opposition agent right now.
Yeah, I like that a lot because the rest are pretty much cantrips.
Yep.
All similar in their role.
Yeah, so you have to be really careful with mana sequencing in like these Ancient Tomb Urza Saga decks when you have double colored pip spells, because it's very easy to sequence things in a way where you don't cast your spells properly.
Huh.
Ooh.
Especially with them holding up Brainstorm. Now I kind of like
Yeah.
holding up Bowmaster.
We'll play Urborg and pass.
Chat had a question for you. Do you play against much of the sort of blue-black grief troll deck? And
Absolutely.
yeah, I would say I probably play against it once every league.
So at the end step, we will probably just cave and cast Orcish Bowmasters. We don't want to be in a holding pattern versus this deck because like we know that our opponent ultimately needs at least 3 mana to win the game. They only have 2 of that right now. I think we just need to get the Bowmasters down and then use our mana to deploy Dauthi Voidwalker so that we can work towards an actual kill. We got a pseudo time walk out of our opponent by forcing the Brainstorm to be played on a different turn.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think like making them use a Brainstorm when they don't necessarily want to is just like a small win in itself. Because now they're definitely drawing a card they might not want to be drawing. Ooh, okay.
Oh, that's very nice. So again, I would probably just attack and sorcery speed that opposition agent.
Yeah, perfect. Does leave.
Well, there's one interaction that matters, and it's the fact that you have Urborg in play, actually. So if we sorcery speed opposition agent, then we just basically turn our opponent's fetch lands into swamps. So it might be correct to just untap that land and hold up opposition agent. Yeah, Urborg plus opposition agent is a major non-bow. Our opponent made a little misstep there. They did not have to pay life for that spell because of our Urborg.
Yeah, like 2 life is also pretty relevant. And, nice. This gets bigger. It's another 2. A 2-turn clock, pretty much. Oof.
That's not bad.
Yeah. Does it change anything if we Bowmaster here? No.
It is 1 additional damage. It does not change the clock.
Cool.
So it might be correct. Is it ever correct to play Dauthi Voidwalker? For opponent show and tells, we can just put in a Dauthi Voidwalker. We don't really have a way to work towards a Helm kill next turn. Unless we draw a land. Yeah, holding up Bowmasters is probably fine.
They really have to have something. Brainstorm.
Oh, yeah, fire that off for sure.
Puts them to 1?
Oh, that's gross.
No, that kills, yeah, because it's 1 on ETB and then 3 each,
Yeah.
which is 6. Yeah, wow.
So our opponent lost that game potentially because of not recognizing that Urborg turned that into a swamp.
Yeah, that's huge. This will be pretty similar to our game against blue-green. We didn't see a third color, but we saw the Beseech in the main deck. Which,
Yep.
I'm not sure if like mono blue's running around, but I would assume that they're splashing.
Well, we only saw Islands, right?
Yeah.
They might be mono blue. So from the sideboard, I'm looking at probably huge portion of the sideboard, honestly. Like, I'm probably... We might want to work backwards and see what we cut. So we probably cut Shadowspear, Pithing Needle, Karn. Probably Iggy goes, because I think we're going to bring in a lot of stuff. Probably Sheoldred goes. We absolutely want Bridge, Helm, Opposition Agent. We probably play Chalice. Like, it doesn't stop the win condition, and it doesn't stop some of the alternative cantrips. So if we board in Bridge, Helm, Agent, that's 4. We could get rid of Leylines and keep our Helm kill relegated to Voidwalker. Yeah, what does it look like if we pull Helm? That would be a total of 9. Is that right?
Correct.
So we would board in 5 more cards. That could be 4 Chalices, and we just keep like Sheoldred as another creature-based finisher.
Nice. Especially Chalice with a soul land start's always nice.
Yeah, sideboarding with this deck has gotten significantly harder since Beseech the Mirror, as you have fewer bad cards to cut.
Yes. Is this kind of a trap hand? Where obviously we have...
This feels like a trap hand. Like, we can play a turn 2 Beseech the Mirror, but what is that getting? That's getting something like Ensnaring Bridge? Yeah, good. I think I'd rather mulligan this.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. So Ancient Tomb, Chalice of the Void on 1. We probably keep this pitching 1 copy of Chrome Mox.
Nice.
So the way that this game probably goes is we use a Chalice of the Void to buy time. And we're hoping to actually resolve a second Chalice of the Void on X's 3 to stop show and tell.
Nice.
We have 4 of that 6 mana already.
Yeah, like we're only a soul land away. Another Chalice, okay.
Okay. I do not believe we do a Chalice on 0. I think flexibility with our own Chrome Mox matters a lot.
I was pretty happy to see that.
Yep, that's fine. We'll do another one next turn.
Yeah, still just islands.
I think blue green sounds really good to me right now. Like there's so much grief and bowmasters and stuff in the format that Veil of Summer seems really good.
Yeah, definitely. And having a lot of really nice lines and things like shed summons out of the board is very cool.
Yeah. So I would drop Urza Saga so that we can play around days, and then we'll cast a Chalice on one. All right, and we're good.
Okay. I guess it's just Voidwalker.
Yeah,
And
we'll
then
we'll put in Voidwalker. We have not great pro. Oh my gosh, we're not dead. It's
okay.
just omniscience.
Hmm.
So now we need to shut off things that help our opponent win. What is currently under Dauthi Voidwalker? It's show and tell, and is there another thing under it?
just show and
No, the
tell.
Force of Will is not under it. Okay. So we can cast a Chalice of the Void on 2 to shut off
Impulse.
Impulse. What you don't need to Chrome Mox, right? You can just play Vault and then just cast it the hard way.
Yes.
And we've just got to get a little bit lucky. Our opponent doesn't have that many creatures. Wow. So hold on. We maybe don't attack now, because now there is a Force of Will under Dauthi Voidwalker.
Very nice. Yeah.
And our plan is Helm kill our opponent, probably. Or like we can attack with an Urza Saga Construct token a handful of times. So we will get a Chrome Mox.
But
Probably not imprint.
Yeah.
Like we can play. Do we play that tapped? We probably play that tapped. Like we are working towards 5 mana turns. Yeah, this is fine. Like the construct token is a 4/4. Soon to be a 5/5 when we play the other Chrome Mox. So
Where'd our Chalice go?
they countered it with the Force of Will, right?
Of
The Force
course,
of
yeah,
Will is
sorry,
now
yeah.
under
Yes.
Dauthi Voidwalker. I think we just have to fire off Force of Will on that.
Yeah. Is Emrakul the main card that we're concerned about? That we can't force?
Yeah, so if they impulse into Emrakul, we can't, follow that up. Similarly, Intuition is scary. Well, I guess like we could counter the Intuition, but we want to make sure we use the counter on something that's relevant.
Okay. You can try. Sadly, this is not how copies work.
That's super punishing that we played the tapped crypt. And that keeps us from being able to pay for the Flusterstorm.
Oh, so copies do work. Oh, because
Yep.
you didn't cast them, of course.
Yep.
Yes. 1, 2. One spell, 2 spell. They cast.
Your Chrome Mox doesn't tap for mana.
Of course. There we go. Yep. There we go. Tough. That's just not a card I would have played around with Chalice on one. I did not even think of that.
Well, I wouldn't have boarded Flusterstorm versus me, right?
That's true.
Like,
Oh, okay.
So our Dauthi Voidwalker is now not in play. So we will. So what? We attack first, right?
Yeah. So I guess we play
and then
Chrome
we will.
Mox.
Yeah. Play Chrome Mox, imprint nothing. Can crash in for 5.
Sheoldred does
I
get
think
around.
Sheoldred is each opponent, I believe. Just check that for me.
Whenever an opponent, yeah. Same.
Nice. So that is probably our line here, sacrificing one of the copies. Yeah.
Nice. Opponent has 1 card.
Yeah, Sheoldred just represents a 1-turn clock, right? Because it's 2 from the draw, putting them to 10. We attack for 8, and then the next Sheoldred trigger is lethal. So this just kills next turn.
Nice. Oh. Okay, that's cool.
That's the last Force of Will, by the way, because there's 1 in exile, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, it's on screen. That's unfortunate.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You got to be happy for them, Phil. You got to be happy for them.
Yeah.
But that is
GG's.
Pretty tough, yeah. Nice. Okay. I do really like the chalices. And on the play, they're even better.
The chalices are fine. They don't stop the win. They stop your opponent from getting to the win. Our opponent might have gotten a little trigger happy in just throwing the omniscience in immediately. I'm not sure. It worked out.
Yeah, potentially they were worried about hand disruption.
Yeah, and they clearly are because they're playing Leyline of Sanctity. So we can do some things that hedge against a creature being show and telled in. I don't know that we need to. If we have Ensnaring Bridge already, that already hedges against a creature, so I don't think we need an Edict as a Beseech the Mirror target. So I think I am okay with what we submitted last game.
Cool. Nice. Probably want to have a turn 1 play. This does have double black.
I don't think I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I would mulligan this one. We can keep a similar hand on 6 very easily. This is not it.
Yeah, a lot of mana, but...
Yeah, let's go to 5.
Okay. This is a turn 1 Bowmaster.
Maybe turn 1 him.
Yeah, could be like turn 1 him into turn 2 Bowmaster.
That's probably our plan. Yeah, we'll keep this throwing back both Helms. We can get Helm with Beseech later. Yeah, and I think we just keep our 2 mana plays as the things that matter.
I think if they have Force as well, I'd be more happy for them to force the him than force our 1 threat in Orcish, which is also somewhat disruption.
So I just pass the turn here.
Yeah.
And we'll try to make it look like we don't have a play.
Okay.
I wouldn't even. Well, you've showed your hand now, so I would just
Yeah.
cast it now, but I would not have cast that there. Like, specifically when you're on a lower amount of cards, like, if you just quickly pass the turn, it makes it look like you just have nothing. Oh, that's nice. I mean, this is how we wanted to see the game play out, right? Like, him and Bowmasters and Chalice, these are the sorts of things that we were looking for that our original hands didn't have. Chalice plus Bowmasters is kind of weird together in that, like, it's making it so that your orc token never gets bigger.
Yeah,
but
essentially.
shutting off the spell is better than allowing them to cast it. Unfortunately, like, again, the Chalice is not a hate card that actually stops the show and tell.
Oh, wow.
So
Missed a land drop.
we got lucky.
Still pretty happy just to play this.
Oh, for sure. Like, we're a deck that ultimately needs to get to 4 and sometimes 5 mana for Helm and activate in one turn. We're always going to make the land drops when we can. So the worrying thing here is that at the end of the day, our opponent has to have something, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And that something is probably show and tell and something to do with it. So we need to find another business spell of some kind. Ooh. Well, actually, I guess that doesn't matter too much.
Oh my gosh.
Because the Chalice is still stopping the 1-drops.
Yeah, they're going to go to
I wonder if my
discard.
opponent fired off that dress down too early because Urza Saga tokens are coming. Or maybe they just have another dress down. At this, well, I mean, you can go ahead and attack, but at this point, we probably Chrome Mox and imprint the Dark Ritual to just put another artifact in play.
Cool.
So how much damage should we get off this Urza Saga next turn? We get 6 off it. We have 7, 8 total damage.
Yes.
We're not quite to lethal, but we're pretty close. Our luck in mulligans is being balanced out by our opponent's luck in draw steps.
Okay. Oh, nearly. Thank you. Do you typically, just with MTGO, do you typically activate first and then pay mana?
Yeah, it ends up the same. I usually activate and then pay mana unless I need to be super particular about something.
Okay.
But I do it both ways. Yeah, so we will fish a Chrome Mox out of the deck, and it's fine to put the Dark Ritual under there. Because the Dark Ritual does nothing in our hand.
Yes. Of course, because of the Chalice. Yeah. Surely. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That
I mean,
we'll look good.
We'll take it. It doesn't feel good, but we take those.
Look, I think the deck is a lot more powerful than the showing we gave it tonight.
Oh, I fully agree with that. I think we played against the sort of matchups that we didn't want to play against, right? Like, we played against multiple show and tell decks, and we played against a lot of combo. Like, this deck is very willing to settle in for a longer game, knowing that Beseech the Mirror has your back in the end game to find you exactly the card that you need to win. And we are very good against graveyard-based combo decks, but we played against kind of these spell-based combo decks, right? And Chalice of the Void is not in the main deck and has limited utility at actually stopping the win conditions of those decks versus things like Doomsday and Show and Tell.
Yeah, that's a great point. But I think, yeah, the time to cast Besiege, it did seem very powerful. Especially just like the ability to go for anything from like a Karn to a Sheoldred to a Helm. Yeah, I love this kind of build where it's like you can turbo into it, but you also have some really good like hate bearish creatures to turbo into. And then obviously the Helm Leyline combo as well.
Yeah, it represents both sides of your A plus B combo while also representing every other card in your deck. And you can't overstate how good that ability is.
Yeah, 100%. Do you see like a home for Beseech in combo, or do you see like a mono black like mid range deck coming out of it as well? Similar to this, I guess this does have a combo in it per se, but
So Beseech is best when you have different sorts of things that you can find. If you are playing more like fair, like Rotting Regisaur, 4X Sheoldred, maybe Ravenloft Adventurer, like a true Stompy deck list, you don't need to fish for one of those things in particular. You're fine just drawing more copies of them, right? So it's in a deck like this one where it represents such a range of things that it's better. This is more of a combo card, in my opinion. Like, if I am on a more aggressive deck, I don't think I need to dance around the black, black, black pips. And if I'm on a more controlling deck, I probably don't want to bargain away one of my permanents.
yeah, a lot of the time it seems just like a natural order for like a non-creature haymaker.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
But yeah, and not too hard cast. Like obviously 3 black is there, but a lot of the decks that are playing cards like Dark Ritual. I believe the deck you played against in your first match played Cabal Ritual as well.
Yes.
Now
Because you just need a critical density of those effects because you need to cast like 2 or 3 spells prior to Beseech to have the storm count you need to get lethal for tendrils
yeah.
off Gaia's Will.
What do you think of Guy's Will? Do you think like Beseech is enough to kind of bring Guy's Will into like the like different types of combo you can play in Legacy?
A week ago, Gaia's Will was not a playable legacy card, and now it is a playable legacy card. Kind of the question is like, where does it fall in power level relative to Paradise Lost and Mind's Desire and Galvanic Relay and all of these other options we have? So as of right now, Gaia's Will feels to me like a card that has generated a deck of legacy power level. Does that deck have a home relative to things like Oops All Spells and other Storm decks that already exist in the format? I think it's too early to tell.
Yeah, that's fair. It is cool to see though. I do love seeing new cards bring old cards kind of into the format, and people just like, I do love people who straight away go like, oh, that's like a Guy's Will card. It's like, how did you just get onto that straight away? Like, yeah, it's cool to see people trying out new cards alongside older cards that have nice synergy with them. It's also nice to think
Kind of the
that
thing that
I was gonna say it's kind of nice as well for like some of the R&D guys back at Wizards going like, oh yeah, okay, that actually works. Like we didn't really think of that, but I guess that works together.
Yeah, and it's honestly one of my favorite things to do on my channel. Is a new card comes out, I jam 4 of it in an existing deck, and I go like, does this have a home here? How is this relative to the rest of the power level of the format? Like, I'm not the person these days who tunes the perfect deck list for a tournament anymore. I'm the person who tests the new thing as it comes out so that other people, know like, is this worth my time to look into?
Yeah, like Yakubops. What's the 6 mana?
Yokel hops, Jokel
There we
hops,
go.
however you want to say it. Yeah.
Yes, nice.
Perfect meme tier card.
Yeah, I do love looking at your videos and going by popular and then seeing which ones are the most popular. And I think if you put like 3 different decks in your mind, it's like, okay, these are probably the 3. And then you look at them, you're like, okay, I was not expecting that. Like, sure, Pox might be one of them, but like the other ones, you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But Phil, a huge thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on ThrabenU on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all of those places. I'm not too difficult to find. I drop legacy videos Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I've got some really fun ones on the channel from this week, including new cards such as Comet Stellar Pup.
Is that bugged currently, or is it all good?
It is now all good. They
Okay.
fixed it, I think it was like Wednesday.
Yes.
For those of you not in the loop, whenever you rolled a 6 with Comet for the first day or two, it completely crashed the client, and you could not successfully log back into the game until you timed out in your current game.
That's not. Yeah, I've never heard of anything like that, especially not allowing you to like get in. That's pretty classic. But yes, a huge thank you for coming on. Really, really cool to have you. Obviously, very cool to have Koval last time. So maybe I'll have to break the non-blue kind of route and get Cook on for the next to have the full Eternal podcast.
If you twist his arm, he'll play non-blue decks.
Yeah, I think we can find
it's just got to be combo.
Be like creature and yeah. But yeah, a huge thank you. Hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy D&D. To everyone who came in and watched, followed, and subscribed, a big thank you as well. I'll be back in 9 hours with Michael Mapson. But until then, I'll see you next time. I'm going to raid Demonic Tutors, who is playing some Legacy 4-color. Hope you all enjoy. Have a great weekend. And for those of you who will be back later on, I'll see you then.